Welcome back to another episode. Today's topic is credibility. Credibility is a big one. Do you know why? Because it's meeting someone's representative for the first time. You take a look at all the first dates that you have out there, you take a look at all the first impressions, all of those things come together to create credibility. And what credibility is can you do what I believe you can do, or can you do what you say you can do? Everything comes together to create that credibility. And if you're credible, someone wants to do business with you. So when they want to do business with you, that could be something for payment, that could be something otherwise, but there's some problem that they have that you can solve, right? And that's what credibility is all about. And that's so important because sometimes we get this sense that someone's credible and they can do what they say they're going to do, and we put our trust in that. And when our trust is broken, or the job falls apart and our expectations are not met, it's a really disappointing feeling. It's a sunken feeling. It's like, what did I do wrong? And you sort of look up the sky and you're like, why? Right? So that's why credibility is so important, because it's a good test to figure out if someone's credible, but it's not enough by itself. So let's get a little bit better understanding of what it is, what it represents, and how we can actually build it with some other strategies to make sure that we actually get what we expect. So credibility is the quality or power of inspiring belief. It allows you to pretty much create certainty. That's what credibility does. Instead of thinking and wondering, oh, is this going to work out the way that I want it to? You're like, hey, you know what? If I hire this person right here, I'm confident, and they're confident that that problem gets solved, and there's certainty there, right? So they're building a belief, they're inspiring it. And when you inspire belief, it keeps growing until it's actual certainty, right? So that's what credibility is. And the reason it's important is because people prefer certainty to uncertainty. Why is that? Well, people like predictable results. It keeps you in your comfort zone. If you know exactly what's going to happen because you hired the right person for the job, it makes you feel good. It makes you not worry. It makes you not feel concerned. And you don't want to have those feelings when you're, let's say, paying a lot of money or having a big project that's actually coming about that needs to get done, right? So certainty is what people want, and that's what credibility helps to create. It helps create this perspective of certainty. Now, the next piece of that is you only get one chance to make a good first impression. You ever heard that before? Well, that all deals with credibility. So if you're meeting someone, let's say for the first time, that is looking like they're gonna, fix a problem that you actually have, they need to be an expert in your eyes. So that means they need to dress the part, they need to speak the part, they need to have the experience, they need to have all of those various things in place. And the big thing there is trust isn't created until credibility is established. So that first impression creates credibility, where it's just like, do I continue and grow this relationship because I believe this might be the right person, the right company for the job, or do I just stop it there because I'm already getting a bad feeling, right? So that's what credibility allows you to do to start off with. Now, when you're establishing it, again, you're looking for an expert in the field. So to go through some of the details, you're looking to see, are they professional? Do they dress, professionally? Do they have the knowledge about the subject matter that they should be an expert in? I shouldn't know more than they do if they're supposed to be the expert. Do they have the experience in place? Do they have referrals and customers saying what great work they actually do? Do they have a presence? Are they physically there at the time they say they're going to be physically there? Do they have an ability to keep a promise? Are they persistent? All of those things come into being, or come to create someone who's actually credible. In order to find someone that's credible, well, as a consumer, you look in the marketplace to see if you can find them. Now, if you can find them or they can find you, then that creates that dialogue, and that gives them an opportunity to establish their credibility with you. Or it allows you to do your homework to figure out, hey, is this company credible from everything that they present online, in the marketplace, wherever you find out actually about them, right? And then part of that credibility aspect is keeping promises, right? Promises are important. Why? Because if we don't keep promises, we actually tear apart trust, and we actually want to build it up. So if you keep promises, you build trust, and you establish credibility. If you break promises, you destroy trust, and you discredit credibility, right? So that's why the promises are important. So if you make a promise, you keep it, especially if you want to build credibility. And remember, you're having an introduction, with a representative. So everything that you're seeing, in the beginning at the forefront, it needs to be on point, because if it's not, you get a bad feeling. You're like, nope, going to do something else. So what does it actually communicate? Well, we already talked about it communicates certainty, but it also communicates confidence and it communicates calmness. Why? Because you know that this person or company can solve your problem. And so if they can do that, they've taken a burden off your shoulders, and that's actually important. Now, in my story, I'm going to talk about contractors, because if you ever heard about contractors, you hear the word con, before the tractor piece, right? Which means you can deal with a lot of folks that talk a good game, but they don't actually back it up. And that's one of the hardest things that I found, and I believe most people have found, in dealing with contractors and actually finding good ones. And so the big thing that I have in place, that I've had to put in place over the years, is a smart process or system for screening contractors. So I don't just hire any contractor. Everything needs to line up. They need to be in business. They need to have experience. They need to have referrals. Everything needs to line up before I'm even willing to talk to them, right? Because in my eyes, if they're not credible on paper and everything that they do, as far as paying their taxes and all these other things, where else are they actually going to cut corners, right? That tells me a lot. So the system actually determines the credibility. So through my screening system, I determine, is this person credible? Is this company credible? And if they're not, I go next. And as soon as I have someone in mind, then I'm actually going to give them a bid, let's say for a proposal. So I need a proposal from them for a scope of work that I put together for a project that I need them to do. And then I'll actually wait to hear back and see if they can actually agree to my terms or not. But something special about the system. So remember, we talked about credibility being that first step forward, right? But you can't have that by itself. Credibility and trust are awesome starting points, right? If someone establishes that they're credible, and you can actually see that, or if you already know somebody, right? Because you already had that trust there, and from that trust, credibility is a little bit easier to establish. But by themselves, they are not enough to do business. They are not enough. And that's where most people actually fail, because they look at credibility, they look at trust, and they see that as enough, and it's not. And so I can remember 3 instances I'll talk to you about. The painter, a deck project, and a bathroom remodeling project. And the first one I'll start with was the bathroom remodeling project. We did all of our homework. We screened the companies that were doing the most business in the area and had good feedback and a good reputation. And we found one. And we decided to bring them on for a bathroom remodeling project that we did. Well, the challenge there was, once we put our deposit down, all of a sudden we started hearing crickets. Now, if you hear crickets, it's either night or, the people that are supposed to be there are not there. And all you hear is all the background noise of the people actually working. So we had a hard time actually trying to track down that contractor to actually start the work. And the problem was that we were not considered a priority. We had a little small bathroom project, and I guess it did not compare to some of the bigger projects that they had in line. So needless to say, a project that should have taken a week ended up taking 3 weeks, right? And we were all ready to move forward and get everything done, but there was a huge delay there. And the problem with that was we communicated our expectations, but as soon as the contractor got what they wanted, they were not as motivated to come back and finish the job, right? So that creates a problem, right? If your expectations don't match up with your contractor's expectations, you can have a gap, you can have some problems there. Fortunately, we did get the bathroom done, but we were not willing to give that contractor a glowing review based on how long we actually had to wait to get it done. Another project was a deck project. And the deck project, we had a deck that was falling apart, and we had to rebuild it. We had gotten a few estimates, and the numbers we got back were really, really high, but we picked the company we felt would do the best job. And these guys were awesome. They were here on time. They went through the project, very diligently. And for 4 guys, they pulled apart and reassembled a deck in a week, which we were amazed about, right? It took a week. So it's like, whoo, you guys are good and you do good work, right? And we thought everything was done until we realized that after we paid the contractor, the permit department came by to inspect the deck, and it wasn't up to code. So then we had to call a contractor back and be like, hey, we have a few things that need to get itemized here or need to get fixed and tuned. So when can you come by to fix it? Crickets again, right? As soon as the contractor got paid, all of a sudden you hear crickets, right? They're not coming back. So we had a very difficult time getting them back. Even though they did great work, there were still a few things that needed to get finished. But again, once they got what they wanted, they had other jobs and we were not a priority anymore. So unfortunately, that took 6 additional months. A job that took a week instead of 2 or 3 weeks, which we were very enthusiastic and happy about, ended up taking 6 months before the final permitting was finished, right? And that's all because we had to drag the contractor back. So it's like, man, come on, right? So as you can see, I mean, just challenges in dealing with contractors. And then the last one, the painter, don't even get me started on the painter. But again, did all our homework, learned from all the lessons before, put all the documents in place. And a company that should have been credible, that got great reviews and everything else, ended up doing the sloppiest job I have ever seen. And something that should have been, let's say, a week in renovations, they created so many issues, it ended up taking 2 months instead of 2 weeks to actually complete. So again, just challenges, right? But the beautiful thing about dealing with each one of those is that they've been stepping stones, they've been learning lessons. So the process or the system that's actually in place, what it does is it doesn't actually just establish credibility, and it doesn't just establish trust. It continues throughout the entire relationship, especially on any particular job. And what that essentially does is, instead of thinking about, oh, I trust this person or they're credible, you're like, you know what? We're going to get this in writing. We're going to get what my expectations are. We're going to get what your expectations are. We're going to have everything written down. So if there's an issue on either side, we have what our official agreement actually was. And that's something that I had to take the responsibility to put together, but that's what actually allowed me to protect, myself, my interests, and the projects that were actually going on. And that was a huge difference maker. And believe it or not, even though I had challenges with that last project with the painter, the project got done and we were able to move forward. And again, if the contractor was not willing to work with us in regards to what their terms are in regards to the contract, we had other options and we had it in writing. So it provided us a huge amount of protection, because you're going to deal with challenges in life, right? So big lesson for today is you need a system anytime you do business. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, it doesn't matter if it's family, it doesn't matter who it is. Even if they establish credibility and trust, you still need to have a system to protect you. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson on credibility. I hope you truly take it to heart, because credibility is something that's important to establish, but it is not enough by itself. So I hope you tune into the next lesson, and I'll see you then. Bye.